The Persian Gulf is black tonight. A tanker captain stands barefoot on a steel deck slick with oil. The smell is sharp. Burnt fuel, burnt metal. The ship's radar screen glows green in the darkness. Then the alarm screams. Missile inbound. Seconds later, the horizon flashes. A cargo vessel erupts into fire near the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow artery that carries nearly 20% of the world's oil every single day. War has moved to the sea, confirmed by Reuters, confirmed by U.S. Central Command, confirmed by Iranian state media broadcasting footage of what it calls a warning strike against aggressors. Read that again. Iran is no longer firing only toward Israel. It is striking ships. It is threatening Gulf infrastructure. It is expanding the battlefield across one of the most economically critical waterways on Earth. On paper, the Israel-Iran conflict was supposed to remain contained. Precision strikes, limited retaliation, deterrence. But tonight, that containment line is evaporating, because when oil tankers burn in the Persian Gulf, the war stops being regional. It becomes global. Insurance markets panic, oil traders panic, naval fleets surge toward the region, and every government on Earth begins asking the same terrifying question. Is this the moment the entire Middle East ignites at once? The war you thought you understood just changed. This is day 27, and I am going to tell you exactly what has changed, what is coming, and why the next 48 hours may be the most important of this entire war. The military map changed fast, and it changed everywhere. Within the last 24 hours, Iran and its regional network launched 3 coordinated waves of attacks stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Red Sea. Not one front, 3 fronts. First, the sea. According to Reuters and U.S. Central Command, at least 6 commercial vessels reported missile or drone threats near the Strait of Hormuz within a 12-hour window. 6 ships, not 1, not 2, 6. 2 oil tankers were forced to issue emergency distress signals. 1 cargo vessel reported an explosion near its hull. Maritime insurers from Lloyd's of London immediately raised war risk premiums across the entire Gulf shipping lane. On paper, these were harassment attacks. But the scale tells a different story. Iranian naval units, including fast attack boats from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy, were detected operating unusually close to commercial shipping corridors. At the same time, Iran's proxy network activated. Second front, Yemen. The Houthi movement fired a new volley of anti-ship drones and cruise missiles toward international shipping in the Red Sea. 14 drones launched, not 5, not 10, 14. U.S. Central Command confirmed American destroyers intercepted most of them using SM-2 and SM-6 interceptor missiles. But not all. 1 commercial vessel suffered structural damage. Another diverted course immediately. The third front is the one Israel is watching most closely, Iran itself. According to Fox News and BBC, Israeli intelligence believes Iran has repositioned dozens of ballistic missile launchers deeper inside hardened mountain facilities across the country, underground, hidden, ready. Meanwhile, the Israeli Defense Forces have responded with their own escalation. Overnight, Israeli aircraft reportedly struck 8 Iranian-linked weapons storage sites inside Syria, near Damascus and Homs, 8 targets simultaneously. Satellite imagery analyzed by Associated Press shows secondary explosions, the unmistakable sign of stored missiles detonating. On paper, this looks like Israel maintaining escalation dominance. But Iran is expanding the battlefield sideways instead of upward, ships instead of cities, oil routes instead of capitals. It is a strategy designed to terrify global markets without triggering immediate all-out war. And it is working. Because while naval forces from the United States, United Kingdom, and France surge toward the Gulf, a new intelligence warning is now circulating inside Western defense ministries. Iran may be preparing something far larger, something that could shut down the entire Strait of Hormuz itself. If that happens, the global economy does not bend, it breaks. And that brings us to the most dangerous revelation of this entire crisis. Now, I need to explain the most dangerous new development in this war. The one that changes everything about what we are actually facing. Iran is not just attacking ships. Iran is preparing the capability to close the entire Strait of Hormuz, 30 miles wide, 1/3 of the world's seaborne oil, the single most important energy choke point on Earth. And intelligence agencies now believe Tehran has quietly moved the pieces into place, confirmed by Reuters, confirmed by the Washington Post, citing a senior U.S. naval intelligence officer, confirmed by a briefing inside the Pentagon reviewed by CNN. Read that again. The Strait of Hormuz could be closed, not symbolically, physically. Iran has three tools for doing it. First, sea mines. U.S. naval intelligence estimates Iran possesses more than 5,000 naval mines stored along the Gulf coastline. Not 500, not 1,000, 5,000. These mines can be dropped from small boats in hours. Hours. Once deployed, they can cripple shipping lanes instantly. Second, anti-ship missiles. Iran's coastal batteries include Noor, Qadr, and Khalij Fars missiles with ranges up to 300 kilometers. That means any tanker entering the strait could be targeted from land. Third, swarm attacks. Fast attack boats from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operate in packs of 20 or more. Small, fast, hard to track, designed to overwhelm large warships. But here is the contradiction. Iran does not actually need to close the strait to win this phase of the war. It only needs to convince shipping companies that the strait might close. Insurance collapses. Tankers refuse to sail. Oil stops moving. Let that sit for a moment. This is asymmetric warfare at its most dangerous. On paper, the United States Navy could reopen the strait in days using mine-clearing ships and air power. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, stationed in Bahrain, was built for exactly this mission. But reopening a mined strait under missile fire is not a quick operation. It is slow, painful, and deadly. Every mine must be cleared individually. Every convoy must be escorted. Every missile battery must be hunted down, which means Iran has created a strategic trap. If the United States does nothing, global oil supply collapses. If the United States intervenes militarily to reopen the strait, the war expands directly between Iran and United States. Either outcome escalates the conflict beyond Israel, and inside intelligence circles tonight, analysts are saying something even more alarming. The ship attacks we are seeing right now may not be the main event. They may only be the rehearsal. Because if Iran decides to pull the trigger on Hormuz, the world will wake up to the largest naval crisis since World War II, and the political consequences of that decision are already tearing through Washington. The battlefield is expanding, and the political fractures are expanding with it. Inside the United States, the public message and the military reality are already drifting apart. On Truth Social, Donald Trump issued a blunt warning this morning. Iran must never threaten the world's oil supply. Any attack on shipping will be met with overwhelming force. Short, direct, unmistakable. But behind closed doors, the planning is already moving far beyond warnings. According to Axios and NBC News, senior commanders inside the Pentagon are preparing contingency plans for direct strikes on Iranian naval infrastructure if attacks on shipping continue. Missile batteries, naval bases, mine-laying vessels. The public message, deterrence, the private planning, escalation. Let that sit for a moment, and Congress is splitting down the middle. Several senators from both parties warned that expanding the conflict beyond Israel risks dragging the United States into another open-ended Middle East war. But others argue the opposite. If Washington allows Iran to threaten global shipping without response, the credibility of U.S. power collapses. Two positions, both dangerous. Neither one ends the war. Internationally, the diplomatic map looks just as fractured. The governments of Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates are quietly placing their energy infrastructure on high alert after the ship attacks near the Strait of Hormuz. Air defenses activated, oil facilities fortified, patrol aircraft launched, because they know something the public often forgets. Iran does not have to defeat its enemies, it only has to disrupt them. Meanwhile, Reuters reports that diplomats from France, Germany, and United Kingdom are urgently pushing for a maritime de-escalation agreement to protect shipping lanes, a ceasefire for tankers, a temporary firewall around global trade, but Tehran has shown little interest. Iranian state television instead broadcast a warning that any foreign navy entering the Persian Gulf to protect aggressors would be considered a combatant. Read that again. Protecting cargo ships could now trigger war. And at the United Nations, emergency sessions are already underway. Ceasefire proposals, shipping corridor guarantees, calls for restraint. But the war is moving faster than diplomacy, faster than votes, faster than speeches, because missiles travel faster than diplomats. And tonight there is a brutal reality every government involved understands, but rarely says publicly. There is no pause button. There is no diplomatic back channel that can stop what is already in motion. The first explosion at sea did not just ignite a tanker, it ignited global markets. Within hours of the attacks near the Strait of Hormuz, oil traders across London, New York City, and Singapore reacted instantly. Brent crude surged to $101.80 per barrel, up 12.4% in a single trading session. Not 1%, not 5%, 12%. That is the largest one-day spike since the opening weeks of the Russia-Ukraine war, confirmed by Reuters, confirmed by Bloomberg, confirmed by an emergency market note issued by Goldman Sachs, and Goldman's warning was blunt. If the Strait of Hormuz is disrupted even partially, global oil prices could surge to $150 per barrel within weeks. Let that sit for a moment. Because nearly 21 million barrels of oil per day pass through that narrow waterway, connecting the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. 21 million, not 2 million, not 10 million, 21 million barrels every day. That oil powers airlines. It powers trucking fleets, it powers electricity grids. And when those tankers stop moving, the shock spreads instantly through the entire global economy. The first place people will feel it is the gas pump. Energy analysts cited by CNN say gasoline prices in the United States could jump 40 to 60 cents per gallon within days if shipping through Hormuz becomes unsafe. That hit comes straight out of the wallet of every person filling up at the pump. But the economic shock does not stop there. Shipping insurers at Lloyd's of London have already classified the Persian Gulf as a high-risk war zone. War risk insurance premiums for oil tankers have surged by over 300% in less than 48 hours. 300%. Meaning some shipping companies may decide the trip simply is not worth the risk. And then there is the LNG market. Countries like Qatar, one of the world's largest exporters of liquefied natural gas, send massive shipments through the exact same corridor. If those shipments slow down, energy shortages ripple across Europe and Asia almost immediately. But the most extraordinary development came from an emergency note sent to investors tonight. Goldman Sachs warned that if Iran fully closes the Strait of Hormuz, the world could face the most severe energy supply disruption in modern history. Worse than 1973, worse than 1990, possibly worse than anything since World War II. And if that scenario begins to unfold, this war will stop being just a military crisis. It will become a global economic earthquake. War reports begin with missiles, but they always end with names. This morning in the coastal city of Fujairah, a port worker stood beside a burning cargo pier staring at the water. His name is Ahmed al-Rashidi, 32 years old, a forklift operator who loads shipping containers arriving from across the Persian Gulf. He told Reuters what he saw when the explosion hit. The sky flashed white, then black smoke. Everyone started running. I thought the whole port was on fire. Barefoot workers sprinted across the concrete docks, sirens echoing, container cranes frozen in place above the harbor. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, another family received a different kind of message. A naval notification officer standing on a quiet street in Norfolk, Virginia, knocked on a front door at sunrise. Inside that home lived Daniel Carter, 20 years old, a junior radar technician assigned to a U.S. destroyer operating near the Red Sea. His mother answered the door. 2 officers. One folded flag, read that again, 20 years old. The U.S. Navy later confirmed Carter was killed when an interceptor missile malfunctioned during a defensive engagement against incoming drones launched by the Houthi movement. Across the region, the numbers keep climbing. According to ECLED, at least 47 people have been killed in maritime-related attacks connected to this conflict during the past 10 days alone. Meanwhile, UNICEF says 19 children have died in coastal communities affected by missile strikes and explosions tied to the expanding war. These are not statistics. They are families. They are children. They are elderly people who cannot move quickly. In the port district of Hodeidah in Yemen, residents are already rebuilding homes destroyed in previous fighting. One shop owner, Samira Hassan, 46 years old, had just reopened her grocery store after 2 years of repairs. New paint, new shelves, a small refrigerator humming in the corner. Then the blast wave from a nearby strike shattered every window in the building, glass everywhere. She told BBC she stood in the street holding a box of ruined fruit. "I rebuilt once," she said quietly. "I don't know if I can do it again." This is what expanding wars look like, not just missiles crossing oceans, but ordinary people losing everything again. Step back from the explosions. Step back from the burning ships. What is happening here is larger than any single strike. This war is expanding sideways. Instead of launching massive missile barrages directly at Israel, Iran is targeting the system that holds the global economy together: shipping lanes, energy corridors, trade routes. If you know where to look, you can see the strategy clearly. Iran cannot defeat the United States or Israel in a conventional war, but it does not need to. It only needs to make the war too expensive for everyone else to continue, and that is where the no-win trap appears. Either the United States deploys overwhelming naval force to secure the Strait of Hormuz, in which case Iranian missile sites, naval bases, and mine-laying vessels will become direct targets of American airstrikes. Or Washington holds back, trying to avoid escalation, in which case Iran continues expanding attacks on ships, energy infrastructure, and regional partners across the Middle East. Neither answer ends this war. On paper, the military balance looks overwhelming. The U.S. Navy operates aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, and strike aircraft capable of destroying Iranian coastal defenses within days. Israel possesses long-range precision strike capability that can reach deep into Iranian territory. But wars are not fought on paper. Iran still has tools the West cannot easily neutralize: thousands of missiles, underground launch tunnels, proxy networks stretching from Lebanon to Yemen to Iraq, and something even more difficult to destroy: time. Because every day shipping routes remain threatened, global pressure builds on Washington and its allies to stop the crisis, not by winning the war, but by ending it. That is the gap between military victory and political reality. Bombs can destroy ships, bombs can destroy missile launchers, but bombs cannot erase ideology, proxy networks, or the strategic geography of the Persian Gulf, which means the conflict is entering a dangerous phase: a slow escalation, a widening battlefield, a series of decisions where every option makes the next crisis worse. And tonight, one question hangs over everything that comes next: will Iran stop at harassment attacks on shipping, or will it take the final step and attempt to shut down the Strait of Hormuz completely? Because if that moment comes, the war you are watching today will become something entirely different tomorrow. In the burning waters of the Strait of Hormuz, a tanker crew watches black smoke roll across the horizon. In the command centers of the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, radar screens glow as officers track dozens of moving contacts across the Persian Gulf. And somewhere inside hardened bunkers in Tehran, military commanders are deciding whether the next move will turn harassment into full economic warfare: 3 places, 1 war, and millions of lives connected to what happens next. The families did not get to vote on this war, neither did the 19 children that UNICEF confirmed have been killed in coastal attacks linked to this expanding conflict. They were sleeping, they were going to school, they were living ordinary lives before the missiles arrived. History is now moving in real time. Shipping lanes are under threat, energy markets are on edge, and military forces from half a dozen countries are maneuvering across one of the most volatile regions on Earth. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Day 28 will bring naval convoy deployments in the Gulf, possible Iranian missile repositioning, and potentially the first direct clash between Iranian forces and Western warships. This is the channel that puts every piece together and tells you what it actually means. Subscribe. Tell me in the comments, should the United States intervene directly to secure the Strait of Hormuz? And do you believe Iran will actually attempt to close the strait? I will see you in the next update.